Hello, my name is Caroline Stokes. I'm the CEO of Forward, and I am here bringing together brains from around the world to talk about how we can evolve in our new era. It's a very difficult time for many, and this is the place to be inspired and hopefully find a new way forward. I am absolutely delighted to be introducing today Dr. Sher Downing. She is the CEO and Principal Consultant of Downing EdTech Consulting. She is a 30-year career veteran, pioneering award-winning online learning industry programs impacting the way people learn across education using leading edge and current technology. I'm happy to say that Dr. Sher Downing is my business partner. Thank you, Sher, launching the Workplace EQ Transformation Bootcamp for the C-Suite starting October 15th. Sher, it's so lovely to have you on this podcast.
Good morning. I'm excited to be here.
Good morning. Yes, and thank you for being here on a Saturday morning. Welcome, Sher.
Isn't every day a work day in our world?
Yeah, we do 7-day weeks. It's just how we roll, isn't it? All right. So my first question to you, because we normally talk about lots of different things, but here I'm really interested in understanding what you're particularly excited and stoked about in our new world, which is obviously very challenging. We've seen what has happened since COVID, where so much learning and conferences, everything is now happening online. So what is it that you are particularly stoked about right now?
So what really excites me is the fact that people now are embracing technology. I have always said technology is not the end all. It's a delivery method. It really is. It's no different than saying I can walk to the store or I can drive to the store. It's just choosing how you get to the store that matters. So in this instance, we suddenly now have people that are so passionate about learning, about attending, about community. And for a brief instant, there was this initial shock of all of a sudden I've been cut off from the world. Everything is gone. I can't do all the things that I love. We can't do them in exactly the same format, but suddenly they recognize that there is a possibility of using technology for it and of not only using it to get by, as many people say, but are now starting to embrace it and actually rediscover different learning formats. We're seeing a higher level of some people that are doing better in technology because it fits their learning style better. And they've been ignored for many, many years because we tend to teach in one type of format. So for me, seeing everyone continue to adapt and seeing the deliverers continue to adapt to their audience, that's what I think is really going to move us forward here definitely in the rest of 2020, but really start to open up things for 21.
Nice. I'm really curious with regards to this particular area. What have you noticed? What new trends have you started seeing? Because just following back on what you were saying about people are now learning or thriving in this new world with technology. What specifically, is coming through? What new trends have you noticed?
So I'm noticing a different way of communicating. People are recognizing that they can have really meaningful conversations through small blips of time throughout the day, throughout the weekend, throughout the world. We're suddenly seeing people who are staying up late, getting up extra early so that they can join something online. I was on a summit last week and a woman at 3 a.m. her time had set her alarm to get up so she could join the summit because she was passionate about learning something new. She was excited about seeing what was out there. I think we're seeing that with everyone, which is the flexibility and the adaptability of technology allows you to do these things. Now, I will say she came to the summit in her bathrobe, and I think that there is some trend because we're seeing that more and more too. We are letting down our guard. We are not as concerned about how we look and what we're wearing. And, obviously there are specific times where you need to have a certain presentation. But for the most part, we're recognizing that, again, that's another secondary piece of what we have built over time in how we perceive we should meet someone personally, how we should dress, how we should look, what we should say. And we're back to the basics of having good conversations, learning new things because I have the time to do it, because I'm sitting here, and reaching out and meeting people that you may have never met in any other capacity because you may not have even tried to. So I think it's just, the ability to create your own community, the ability to stimulate your own learning, and the ability to just fit it into your life. What is your new lifestyle or your adapted lifestyle from what you had before? I'm excited about it, as you can tell.
I can tell.
I get passionate about these things because I think people are recognizing what's important again, which is sharing, building people that support you, understanding and learning. And we're starting to let go of all that peripheral kind of chaos that we really built up on ourselves. I'm a product of the 80s, that was the go-to Wall Street, everybody gets an MBA and push forward time. And it's interesting to see my age group now embracing this way and saying, you know what, there's life too. We can do casual things. We can do different things. And I think it's also leading to people choosing different careers. I think people, because their life is taking a step back, they're also rethinking, how do I want to spend my time going forward? If we return to normal tomorrow, do I really want to return to the way I was working before?
All right. Yes, indeed.
But I do see a lot of people who are getting near retirement or getting that opportunity to take an early buyout, who are saying, I did this because it made money and I made a great career, but it's never what I was passionate about. Here's what I really wanted to do over here. And now they're moving over and starting to do that. So COVID has not been as bad as it could have been in the sense of how we've adapted. The medical situation is difficult and it's been horrific and a horrible, toll on people. But in terms of how we have had to be forced to stop and reevaluate how we live and what we do, I think there's been some real benefits from it.
Definitely. So you create courses and platforms and what have you, and I'm really curious about how people or individuals or organizations can adapt to that new world.
Sure. So the first thing I tell people is look around and look at what your value is. All of us teach face-to-face every single day, whether we think about it or not. Maybe not formalized teaching, but you're showing them how to do something. Your new hires, you're showing them how to navigate the culture of your company. If you're an entrepreneur, you're working on several different things that you have figured out that others haven't. I got a text this morning asking if I've worked with a certain piece of software because somebody just had a quick question. So there's always those components that you're doing every single day. So, stock of your value and then think about what can I do with that value? So do I create online courses? Do I create live webinars? Do I create small teaching, self-paced components? How do I create value for the things that I can no longer do face-to-face? And how do I also make it beneficial? Because think about the time that you spend training someone that they could be now going through a different kind of training. The quality time they spent with you could be really talking about it. So the example I think of is I just got through working with someone on their culture video. And they've always spent days and hours working with someone, working them through the culture, getting them to understand the messaging, everything that's so important to a company. Now they've realized if they have all of the, nuts and bolts in a video package, now when the person comes in, now we talk. Where are your values? What do you have questions about? How are you feeling? Is there anything you feel like it doesn't go with what you stand for or what you believe in? I mean, the conversation has turned deep and much more meaningful. And we're not as worried about, oh, here's the notebook and here's, I need to show you where the mailboxes are and all those kind of crazy things that can be done and delivered in another way. So I'm seeing a real change in that. I'm also seeing a change in people who are wanting to actively move their content online because they're feeling they can reach a broader audience. Suddenly their clients are no longer walking in the front door, but as they talk to their clients online, their clients are including other people. Oh, I wanted to refer you here. Oh, do you mind if I, include this person on a CC? So when you start to see that, suddenly your expanse grows much, much larger and your audience becomes much, much broader. But if you're still trying to deliver it in one methodology, it's not getting to them. So I think we're seeing, again, it's an opportunity to repackage what you already do, let alone now we have people starting to think creatively about what do we do going forward, new things. But for the last 6 months, we've just been repackaging and helping people just reestablish how to do things better, how to rely on the technology, and how to take care of their people in a different way.
I love that. That's a really, really great way to demonstrate how things have turned around, actually for the better, because people were just managing the processes as they were, and actually it's a lot more cost effective, and it enables that a much deeper interaction once people have absorbed the information in a maybe a more visual way.
So we always joke in higher ed, there's a joke that says in concrete somewhere on every single campus, it says, because we've always done it this way. Because higher ed obviously doesn't move as fast as corporate does. We have a lot more, impact from external clients that really push how higher ed moves. And for years, as I worked in it, we always heard that, because a lot of times you didn't want to change something because it's working. It's not broken. Why fix it? Over the last probably 10 to 15 years, as you know, we've started to see more of that in corporations where they've lagged behind in certain things, particularly in HR areas, because it's working. We'll concentrate on, building something else. So now we're forcing them almost to relook at those things and realize that there is a different way to do it. So, we can get rid of that mindset that we've done this for years, it works, let's just keep doing it. And we're really starting to almost refresh how people think and how they approach.
Yeah, I love it. I love what you're doing here. And that leads so perfectly to my next question, which is John Lewis, when he died, he talked about good trouble throughout his career and life. And when he died, his statement, good trouble, just was like a stake in the heart. And I immediately wanted to create a podcast to help people, create good trouble in their own ways, which is why I've invited you and many others. And, so I'm really, really curious to understand, Sher, and I think I know the answer, but not everybody else does. What good trouble are you creating?
I was doing good trouble long before it was in. Who knew?
Oh, yeah. Atta girl.
So I think, and I love that John said that, because I think it's true. I think you drive through your career in one of two ways. One is you do all the right things and follow all the right processes, and you end up where you're supposed to end up. I've never been that kind of person. The joke is, the bigger the problem, the messier it is, hand it to me, because then I'm more attracted to it. I'm much like a moth to light at that point.
Is this why we like each other?
Yes. The problem is easily solvable, because I get bored and then I just kind of. So, I realized pretty early on in my career that if I always took that weird project, that thing that no one else wanted to tackle, I'd learn something from it. I'd at least be able to say I did it. And I'd at least be able to kind of disseminate what it is that I like and don't like. So, I joke about it, but when I was in kindergarten, I told my parents I wanted to quit school. And they were a little shocked that I wanted to quit school quite that early in life. Kind of thought it'd be a little later. So fast forward now, and I have 4 degrees. I have a bachelor, 2 masters, and a doctorate. So a little bit of overkill, in some respects. But the point of that is that it was pretty clear early on that once I got bored, I kind of checked out. So there always had to be something that was stimulating. And I think it's important. People often ignore that. They know that's how they are, but they choose to ignore it, and they kind of shuffle along. And that's exactly what they do their whole career. They shuffle along. So for me, it's a matter of what can I figure out to do, or what can I figure out to do better, or what can I figure out to do differently? So the technology field became really, really a good match for me, because there's never a perfect answer. There's never anything that rolls out entirely. And there's a whole group of people who are brilliant in this field and brilliant in education, but don't really get the recognition as if they were in a corporation, in big business, if they were really out in front. You never see movies made about, higher education faculty. There's no Bradley Cooper saying, gosh, let me play a tech nerd. That stuff just doesn't happen. But what you find is these brilliant minds that, when brought together and talked through in the right way, can really come up with some fabulous things. And most of the things that most of us use in our homes are done by these people. So, my constant focus is, and my company's focus is, how do we build relationships? How do we connect those people? How do we get you to talk to someone you might have never talked to before and find out that you have just the best conversation ever, the greatest understanding, and a richer, deeper understanding of both sides? And so we really look to create that kind of good-natured outcome from the trouble of poking people and saying, you need to be doing this, or have you talked to this kind of company or this kind of group? Startups are wonderful because we get people who are very laser focused on one thing, and we can help them branch that out and really think through things. You know, a couple of the other things that we're doing, we're just launching a speakers resource group, not to get you goals and how to get hired as a speaker. What we want to do is provide you a one-stop resource so that you can find all the tools and things you need because you're starting out in your speaking career. Change how you do your speaking career. Again, it's always that underdog that gets misrepresented or doesn't get access to the things that they want or they need. And that for me is a sweet spot. You know, that's where I go and say, how do we figure out how to make this great for them? And then how do we move them forward? And when it's time for them to go on to the big leagues, they go on, and that's okay. So always good projects to
very entrepreneurial. For you have your fingers in lots of different pies and or holes, whatever the metaphor or saying goes. Because I think what you're saying is that you're always looking, based on that time when you were at kindergarten when you got bored, you're always looking at what problems can you solve, how can you make people think differently. And I will never forget, Cher, and I'm going to say this on the record, when I had my first conversation with you to say, okay, I want to create a course for the C-suite so they can actually spend 8 weeks learning how to adapt and then present their new manifesto to the organization. And the data dump that you gave me and all of the insights. Do you remember afterwards I was like, I've got a headache.
I had 2 clients after that tell me the same thing.
Because you just like blow the mind on what is possible and how much needs to go into it. So, and this is why I partner with you. So thank you very much.
Well, because I want you to think.
Boy,
think about our second conversation, and when you came back and you had this list,
yeah,
you were like, now I've thought through. Now I want this. I don't want that. Because making you think helps you be definitive. And that's what learning is all about. Once you learn something, it doesn't mean you always stick with it. It just means you've learned it, and now you have the knowledge to make the choice. Again, it doesn't matter how it's delivered, but it's the opportunity of you to make the choice. And ultimately, that's what we all want. We want to be able to make our own choices. Yeah,
it was probably like doing a year's worth of, or no, maybe a 6-month boot camp with you on how to do everything in a 1-hour conversation. And it was just like, my brain was like, trying to create all of these new neurons really rapidly. It was fantastic. So in terms of what you're talking about here with good trouble being, wanting to help people see things in a new way, expand their horizons, build things better, help them look over there instead of just looking here, giving them the equivalent of a 6-month boot camp and a 1-hour session so they can be very, very fast at finding decisions. I'm going to ask you a really difficult question because I don't know the answer here. Why is that emotionally intelligent?
Because ultimately, everything that we do, everything that we are, is measured internally. We are so worried about assessments. We survey you to death. You go to school, they survey you, they make you take exams. We already self-assess. And whether we consciously or unconsciously think about it, when you look at emotional intelligence, we all define in certain areas of that. We can all take the exam. We can all figure out where we fit. Most of the time people look at it and go, oh yeah, it sums up exactly what I am. You likely already knew that. There are many products out there to do this. The point of it is that when we start to be astute to what we do early on in our lives and how we process and how we manage, that then sets the tone for how we learn, how we navigate, how we have community with other people, and how we move forward. And so it's very, very well tied with emotional intelligence, because that's ironically one of the biggest factors into why people end up in tech careers, because they're those people that test as introverted, socially awkward, problems in navigating community, but they are brilliant in terms of processing, analytical skills, moving forward. Careers have traditionally, for hundreds of years, navigated us based on our emotional intelligence. Look back to the apprentice times. There were people chosen to become a blacksmith. You didn't just say, I want to be a blacksmith. You were chosen. Why? Because they recognized the skill set that you had, not just physically, but emotionally. Others, they said, you need to become religious status. You need to become a teacher. Why? Because you show those skill sets, again, on the emotional intelligence side. So I think we are getting less about identifying emotional intelligence and more about identifying intelligence overall. I think we are going to pull people together to a point where we start to really look at the entire picture of an individual as opposed to the snapshots. And I'm excited about that, because I think artificial intelligence allows us to do that more and more. We're already seeing it just in tracking of the things that you do. If you look at the data on your phone where it says, you know, we're going to tell you how often you're logged in, how often you're looking at your phone every day. You can start to look at that, and not only do you see your patterns, but you can also start to think about those days that you did those things. So what occurred on that day that you ended up just staying on your phone the whole day? What occurred on other days that you were just doing marvelous other things and had no desire to be on your phone? All of those things are going to tie back into the overall intelligence of the human. And I think, you know, that's the path we're heading towards, and EI is going to be a really important part of that.
So well said, and refreshingly so. I've asked this question to lots of different people, but I particularly like the way you blended all of it into the whole, and how that person moves forward. So thank you for that. That was lovely, really lovely. My final question is, what one piece of advice would you give viewers to take away with them from your experience?
Keep learning. I say that at the end of every podcast because I think it's so valuable. And right now it's so easy. There are so many things being offered online. There's so many free workshops, free webinars. You know, most of them now you'll see, if you look at it and say, oh, I can't attend at that time, it'll say right on there, you can register. We'll send you the link.
Exactly.
Afterwards. Take advantage of that, you know, because every time you learn, you start to decide what you like and what you don't like. It becomes a process of elimination for you, and becomes a process of broadening for you all at the same time. And it's very convenient to do. So always, always keep learning, take advantage of doing it. And that's just going to keep allowing you to pivot and be flexible as we keep moving forward, because we don't know where we're going. You know, we have all of these predictions and all of these scientists working on things, but the honest answer is none of us know. So be prepared and ready by keeping learning. And when opportunity knocks, you're able to open that door.
Very, very wise. Thank you so much for your brilliant, refreshing insights on a Saturday morning. This is fantastic. And only with one coffee. Thank you.
Thank you. Good shots, you know. This has been wonderful. You know, I always love talking about these things because I think, you know, trying to humanize my field is a big effort, but it's a very rewarding effort.
Thank you so much, Cher. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on the show today.
Thank you.